All rise. All right, good afternoon again. You may be seated. Thanks very much. All right, Mr. Miller, if you could call that for 266:15, please.
How much you pay on your management? You make a month, please. 1,200. So that's not 80. 300. He goes back. My son got a job, so he did pretty good for himself, so he's been paying his own car for the last month. They know what's going on? Yeah.
We'll keep on checking. Hope is out there.
Hope scholarship.
It is true.
Really? But they're not U.S. citizens, though. Oh, they are too? My son was in Indianapolis working all semester. So I saw him go back and forth on the weekend and watch the Atlanta game together. Just spent a little bit of time with him. But the girls went to Florida.
Did they come visit you at the apartment?
No.
Have they been there?
No.
You don't want them to see it?
What's there to see?
You don't still bug him more than anything else today? It's just probably simple, suspicious. Who hit you?
Oh, this? Again, I'm telling you, it's self-inflicted with a stupid jerk motion with my glasses. It wasn't. Nobody hit me. It was in the apartment. I was in the apartment all morning.
I don't see how glasses can do that. It looks like a pretty good gash there. I had mine done today too, but I had to go to...
The glasses ended up on the floor about 6 feet away. That's how far they went.
So what cut you though? What part of the glasses cut you?
I don't know, because I washed them. I'm assuming this part. I have no clue, but this is pretty sharp. Yeah, it was bleeding a little bit, so I washed it, and then I got the glasses, and I don't see a damn thing without it.
That was today?
So, that was this morning, around 11. No, nobody. So here, feel that.
I believe so. I mean, I wear glasses too. I mean,
So, I don't know how. It was a jerk motion that I did with the hand, and it just sent the glasses flying. It's pretty stupid.
we all do that. So,
I bothered you, but I don't know why I bothered you.
that's why it's so obvious, it's so fresh, it's so sexy.
Yeah, no,
it's like something you had done today or something.
Yeah, it did happen at 11 in the morning.
Your social life, yeah, just your kids, is that it?
My social life?
Social life. I mean, weekends.
A lot of time alone, a little bit with the kids. I've made since over the last 6 months, I've developed some friendships at work, some guys. Andrew, Lourdes.
The daughter called you an asshole to make up with him? To make up with you? Is she the one that went to Florida with you?
Yeah,
Was this after Florida or before Florida?
it's during.
She was down there when she said it? Why'd she call you that?
Because I walked out of the house.
Why'd you walk out of what was being done? I think you walked out.
Why did I walk out?
Why'd you walk out of the house?
Walked out of her house, not the Florida.
No, not the Florida house.
Oh,
Her, basically all around. I mean, she woke up one day to the reality that her father is not at home, thinking that she has a family, and now all of a sudden the family's broken up. And so it's just that general feeling.
so she blames you for the situation?
Her mother did a good job of trashing me around in the beginning until the therapist.
This is the older daughter? This is the twin daughter? Oh, the young one, 17-year-old? 17-year-old?
Again, because it affects her the most, because if my wife goes back to Israel, she's got to make a decision whether she stays with her mom and goes back to Israel and then goes to the army.
So why did your wife want to go to Israel?
Because that's where she's from. That's where she has all her friends.
I don't know. I don't understand that. I understand the concern with leaving her friends and everything now, but you said a couple times the concern about your daughter going into the military. To me, while I was there, it just seemed this simplest thing. You just go to work at day.
No, you're right. But when you're 17,
Just not cool.
and no, when you're 17, and you have everything, so you're going through September thinking what college you're going to go apply, and then all of a sudden one day that gets broken up. Guess what? You're an asshole. Sorry, not you.
Makes sense.
Because now everything is up in the air, right? It's not.
But now things are good between you and her.
It has its ups and downs. We had a good time in Florida. They came back, saw their mom with a long face and anger, and then they get upset again.
Talked to them for years.
I talked to her, the younger one, New Year's. The older one was at a party, didn't hear me, and then she texted me later, and my son was at home, and I talked to him in the mornings. Why is that?
Which one? They convinced you where you're at now? They know where you're at? So they've met her before? Really?
From the time that she came to visit in Israel. We came here to Atlanta once, spent a few days here, so.
Sunk in yet there?
What's that?
They sunk in yet? Been together?
Yeah, we're just chilling and regrouping.
I've been here for
You need a break?
Do I need a break?
Yeah. Break?
Bathroom?
Outside, get a breath of fresh air?
No, I guess some more water, and I am starting to get hungry, but other than that.
Person texting me. Graduated college, June '78. Moved down here a week later.
Oh, really? Been here since 78. You can't get rid of the accent.
Try. Hemy. We're just trying to make sense of it all. We're just at odds with you, I guess. The fact that that looks to me like you're painted into a corner, and yet you're not so much steadfast about your innocence. What have you got to lose by telling us that you got nothing to do with it? just a matter of a conscience, I guess. Because when you raise kids, I mean, I'm sure you caught them in a different story than what they're telling you, what you got. You confront them about it. And still going to tell you their version of it. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's just the way you deal with it. Maybe in your perspective of things, what you're facing here today, what we're accusing you of or saying you did in the realm of things, maybe it's not as bad as having your daughter call you a name that maybe will hurt you for a long time. Whether that could be patched up or not, maybe that way, you know, that's up here and what we're talking about is here. I can imagine that can hurt, but it's just a matter of what you find important at the moment, and what you don't. Or if you put triage it, I guess would be the word for it, you know. You have to deal with the moment. I'm sure things were said in your family you guys didn't mean to say to each other, or I'm sure you may have said things. Sure, they may have said things. They're of age. You know, your children are not children age, but they certainly will be your children no matter what. You know, and they certainly are at an age to speak their mind. They're educated. They're going to speak their mind. You can only cope whatever way you raise them, no matter what course comes up, such as your divorce or pending divorce or your separation, that you'd hope that at least everybody would stick together. And, you know, they had nothing to do with it. It'd just be just between the mom and the dad. But maybe they take it from a different point of view. Living in an apartment, I'm sure that's not a condition you'd like help. You can't even bring somebody home like that. I mean, I don't know if old Ruthie would hear it, or you wouldn't even do that to her. And I know you got friends, you probably got a social life, but I mean, can't imagine what it would be like to come home on a Friday night from work and are you stuck at Roots or? Well, I mean, you don't sit there and play mahjong or whatever, or friends. You got Saturday all day and Saturday night. I mean, let's face it, you don't have the money to go out and socialize like maybe you would like to, and you can't put it on the company tab. You can't put everything justify it's a company thing. So basically, even from Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, you could possibly be stuck in that apartment. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You cope with it well, I guess. You cope with it the best you can, right? I think you mask it well. I don't know if you carry it well. Make the most out of it. And then you got to think of somebody living a better life. Where have I gone wrong? Consider coming back there to work. I mean, I don't know. Was she getting paid for this time? Like FMLA or something? She's getting paid. Benefit for her, life insurance. talked about it with her or something?
Crass.
Just we'll make sure we're not missing something here. I mean, obviously, you're not understanding what we're trying to convey, or we're not conveying it.
I told you what I know.
Yeah. Tell us what you know. Tell us what you want us to know. I still feel it here, mine, me. I feel it. I feel there's much, much more to this. Much more to this. You're too smart to be caught up in it. Innocently. I mean, innocently. This isn't, you're not caught up in this randomly. It's not like you have no connection to these people. We just see your van there. I mean, this is, got the van and then you. I mean, that's just like, the odds are just too great for it to be anything else other than that. So, what are we missing on it that you failed to see on it, other than the fact you didn't have anything to do with it?
I never thought that when you gave me the call. I mean, again, it's like, how am I related to him? I mean, that's,
Well, what did you hear on the news stories about Rusty after it happened? I mean, and the guys that, the water cooler gossip, did people talk about it at GE, about what happened to his wife? Happened to
again, it's a tragedy and it's horrible.
theories?
It's hard to speculate as to why or how that happened. So we're sitting there wondering, how did that happen? That's basically it. It's
Suggestions? Anybody? You hear anything like, oh, I'll tell you what happened on this. I bet she, or I bet he, or I bet his job, or maybe he done something.
The only thing that, I don't know, I can't even remember where it was discussed. It was at one point a report somewhere about an Al-Qaeda link to that lady that was killed in California or something like that.
Al-Qaeda link.
There was this lady, I don't even remember. This lady was killed a couple of days, I think, before Rusty. In California, also shot. And they didn't know who it was, and then this happened, and then she was Jewish, and he was Jewish, and I don't know, there were some rumblings about Al-Qaeda traffic that the Arabs should go out, Muslims should go out and start shooting. That's the only crazy thing that I heard. I
Heard that. When you guys left Israel 5 years ago, you came straight to Atlanta? Because this is where you had ties before?
No.
With the job?
Energies.
Did you seek to come to Atlanta, or they offered you the opportunity to come to Atlanta with GE, and that's why you took it? I mean, well, did an opening come up in Atlanta?
Yeah.
And you applied for it, or did they say, hey, we want you to go to Atlanta?
They sought me out. I was working in Saudi in Israel. I had been at the training headquarters up in New York. Several people were consider moving to Atlanta. They brought me here.
So when you came to Atlanta, where'd you guys live first? At Roots? Where'd you live first?
No, I had a GE paid for a hotel room
Where was that?
on Roswell Road in there.
So you enrolled the kids in school up in there?
No. I mean, I came first. I came in January.
Right.
I came in the summer.
Huh.
So I was here for a few months by myself.
So they ended school, and then they came.
Right. So I bought the house, got it set up, and then it came in the summer.
The kids remember Israel, but they don't want to go back. They like it here better. I mean, they were younger, but they certainly do remember bits and pieces of their life there, because they were 10 and 7. 15 and 8. 15 and 12. So they remember it. Pretty hard age to leave your friends and everything, but they
still have friends. They're on Facebook.
They're okay with it. They belong to a synagogue here? No synagogue? Really? Did they make bar mitzvah and all kids? Yeah. You just didn't seek a synagogue out, didn't feel like you needed to.
Now the American synagogues are very
traditional.
No. Prissy. You have to dress up, and it's what you're wearing.
Really?
And there's a Chabad synagogue, which is a lot more down to earth. I don't know if you've heard of Chabad.
Where is it?
On Lower Roswell. So we were there a couple of times.
You can go like this?
You can dress up a little bit.
Where does Ruth go? Yeah.
She goes to the Rat Pachim and Peach Tree.
Battle? Old.
Yeah, very old.
You know, the temple on Peachtree Road had a bombing there years ago. No, I was hoping we could talk a little bit more. You ready to get going, I guess?
What?
I mean, I was hoping to talk a little bit more. I was hoping, you know, I don't care about time. I mean, I don't care. I just don't care. I come and go. And I'm enjoying your conversation with you. I feel like I'm gaining something by talking to you.
You are. Okay.
I feel good about myself.
Great. I'm not sure I'd take that as a compliment.
You should.
Really?
No, you're still carrying on. All that you got going on in your life, you're still carrying on. Surgery.
My sister's killer.
And where's that? Father going to be able to help her? What can he do? 88? Does he live in a home?
He's got an apartment. Well, I don't even know what they call it. Elderly living.
Seniors, adult living.
Right.
Is he function?
We're not sure.
Well, has he got Alzheimer's?
No, he's good. His brain, his body, his function. That's all right.
Done. Huh? Done.
Done?
Yeah, it sounds like we got these. Andy said, got it? Yeah. Okay, well, it sounds like they got one and got an arrest warrant for you today on a murder charge.
Great.
Yeah, based on what we got, the car, and everything else.
Lawyers may approach for a moment. proceed.
Major Barnes, somewhere during the course of the questioning of the defendant, you all read him his Miranda rights.
Yes.
All right. Can you tell us why you chose to read Miranda rights? It seemed like it was in the middle of the interrogation, or at least you had been doing it for a while. Can you tell us why you decided to do so at that point?
Sure. We had Mr. Neuman in the police department interview room for some time, and it was at a point where, after a general conversation, we needed to be more specific into the van, and we were sure he was a suspect in this case. So I think a reasonable person would infer, or at that time he could infer, that he was probably not free to leave. So for Miranda to apply, you have to be in custody and an interrogation taking place. So that was about to be what was going to happen. So,
did you make any promises to Mr. Neuman to induce a statement or to get him to talk to you?
I think that's probably the longest Miranda explanation that has ever been given. So.
Yeah. Did you use any force?
No.
All right. Did you make any threats?
No.
All right. Did he in fact talk to you after, like as we saw on the video?
Yes, he did.
All right. Did you have him sign a Miranda form?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor, from the approach. Major, I'm showing you what has been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 88. If you could take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that.
I do. It's the Miranda statement that was done on January the 4th and signed by Hemy Neuman and Gary Cordolino.
Did you witness the signing of that Miranda statement?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, this time I'll tender State's Exhibit number 88 into evidence.
Any objection? All right. 88 submitted by objection. May publish it to the jury if you wish.
No further questions at this point, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Sampson, you may cross-examine if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. We finally come back to you after all these hours.
Good afternoon.
You starting to regret turning on the video camera?
Yes.
The break in this case essentially came when the rental contract for the van came back. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And at that point, you had Hemy Neuman's name.
Yes.
And somebody called him down in Florida. Was that you or someone else?
Sergeant Cordolino.
Okay. And at that point, did y'all know how he was related to Andrea?
I did not.
Okay. So you said that you Googled him, and that's
Yes.
how you ended up realizing?
On January the 4th, yes.
Okay. So essentially, on January 4th is when you figured out, oh, this is our suspect.
Yes.
But when Sergeant Cordolino called him, he told him, we're calling about this rental van, right?
Yes.
And that he was calling from Dunwoody.
Right.
And there was some discussion about that that you were the ones investigating the murder.
Yes.
But he still came back to Atlanta after that.
He did.
Now, you later learned that his name was actually already in the file, right?
Yes.
And that his name was in there as a suspect, right?
No.
Or at least as a name that had been given to be looked into.
I think it was a name that had been mentioned by Andrea Sneiderman.
Okay. But at that point, no one had followed up on that.
There was no follow-up at that point.
Now, the day on the 4th when you met with him, he told you when you first went to the apartment that he had a doctor's appointment, right?
He did.
And he told you that it was a follow-up for surgery that he had just had?
Yes.
And he told you that he was having problems, that he wasn't feeling well, and that's why he was going in?
No, I remember it as he had a scheduled follow-up from the surgery. It was just
routine follow-up.
Okay, but in the course of the interview, he talks about that he wasn't feeling well, that he had planned to go to work that day, but then had decided he couldn't.
Yes.
And he never did go to that appointment, correct?
No.
Now, at that point, when you realized that that he was Andrea Sneiderman's boss, that he was the one that had rented that car, you had enough to arrest him, right?
I had enough to approach him for, he was obviously a person of interest at that point.
Okay. But basically, that's the information that you used to get the warrant, right?
No, that was part of it, and then all the things that came out in the interview that solidified that.
Okay. But he never admitted in that interview that he did it.
He did not.
So at the point where you went into that interview, you knew he was the suspect. You were pretty sure he was the one who did it. A lot of your focus was trying to figure out why, what happened, why he did this, correct?
That's correct.
And during that whole interview, he never admitted that he did this, correct?
That's correct.
Now, in your, I guess, 30-some-odd years of law enforcement, you've interrogated a lot of suspects, correct?
Yes.
And probably hundreds,
Fair.
fair to say. And when the two of you were questioning him, Sergeant Cordolino starts moving forward, starts getting closer and closer to him. That was intentional, right?
Yes.
And the point is to basically put him under pressure, to increase the pressure of the interview.
Yes.
And so he's moving closer and closer in on his space.
Yes.
And he actually ended up knee to knee at one point and reaching out and touching him through
Yes.
the interview. And then at one point ended up standing up and leaning over him.
Yes.
And all of that is intended to increase the pressure.
Yes.
Now, you and Sergeant Cordolino have very different styles, right?
We did.
Okay. He's from New York and you're not. And
Correct.
he's just very direct
Yes.
and very forceful.
Yes.
Now, on the 4th, Mr. Neuman never admitted he did this, but the next day on the 5th, he did confess, or he did admit that he did it, right?
I'm going to approach.
Sure, come on up, Lauren. All right, I will sustain that objection. You may ask a different question.
Now, during the interview, he talked to you about his financial problems,
He did.
and he told you that he had accumulated a $65,000 personal debt,
Yes.
and $50,000 in educational debts for the
Yes.
two kids, and that they had a $3,000 a month mortgage,
Correct.
and that they were in a debt consolidation plan.
Right.
And so they had been put on a budget of $400 a week to work on that debt consolidation plan.
Yes.
And he told you that part of that debt was from a number of trips.
I don't remember trips, just excessive spending and entertaining.
And he told you about the debt management program, but also that they were trying to refinance the mortgage.
He said he was in negotiations with his mortgage to lower it.
And he talked about the separation with his wife.
He did.
And he talked about that he realized the relationship was destructive, that he was trying to please her, and she was not happy with what he was doing.
That's what he said.
He also told you that he met with Rusty in August.
Yes.
And they talked about Rusty's business project and also advice on improving his resume.
Yes.
And he also told you that they had met other times,
Yes.
that he had seen him at their home socially.
I believe so.
He also told you that he met with Andrea at their home, and Rusty was there part of the time on November 16th.
That's correct.
And he actually opened up his iPad and looked up that date for you.
He did.
And he talked about some of the problems that Andrea was having at home with the change from working at home to working for GE.
Yes.
And basically figuring out the adjustment of her husband being the one at home with the kids as opposed to her being the one at home with the kids.
Yes.
And he told you that they talked about her children.
Yes.
And he told you that he gave her advice about dealing with balancing job and the kids.
He did.
And that he had suggested she go home early to be with the kids and then work at night.
Yes.
And the kids actually came up several times through, her children came up several times through the interview, correct?
A couple of times.
And he told you that if he had a romantic relationship with her and GE found out, that he would be fired, correct?
Several times.
And he showed you an email from Andrea Sneiderman asking to meet with him that same day,
On the 4th?
on the 4th.
Yes.
And he told her, no, he couldn't meet with her, he wasn't going to be at the office that day, in that email.
Yes.
Now, you asked him about, late in the interview, after you read him Miranda, you asked him about his relationship with Andrea, right?
Yes.
And he admitted that he and Andrea had been on business trips together.
Right.
And he admitted to you that he had made an advance to her.
Yes.
And he told you that she had shut him down, that she had rebuffed him, that she said no, she wasn't leaving her husband.
Correct.
And he told you that after Rusty died, Andrea asked him to go get her computer out of her office.
That's what he said.
And he told you that he went to her office and he got that computer.
Yes.
And in fact, that you know that to be true.
Yes.
Let's go back to the interview. You were talking to him, trying to get him to admit to the shooting through all these hours, right?
Yes.
And basically what you're trying to do is to get him to tell you why, what the reason was for all of this.
Yes.
And during the course of that interrogation, you and Sergeant Cordellino were offering various scenarios about how this might have happened or what the reasoning might have been.
Yes.
And you were just basically throwing out ideas to see if he would bite, to see if he would say, yes, that's the reason.
Sure.
So you suggested that it could have been out of jealousy,
Yes.
and you suggested that maybe he and Andrea conspired together to do this.
I believe Sergeant Cordellino did tell him that.
And he suggested that Andrea Sneiderman might have manipulated him into doing this.
Again, I think Sergeant Cordellino did say that.
Now, you mentioned that in the interview that Andrea Sneiderman actually came into the office that same day.
To the police department, yes.
Was that true, or was that just something you told him in the interview?
No, it was true.
Now, during the interview, he spoke about how angry his wife Relly was about him leaving and the effect of that on his daughter, correct?
Yes.
Now, after this, after he was arrested, you actually went to Hemy and his wife's home, correct?
I did.
And the purpose was to, someone else was getting a search warrant, and you went there just to hold down the fort and be searched sure nothing was destroyed? Is that fair?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay. And while you were there, you told his wife and his children that he had been arrested.
Yes.
And then you stayed for over an hour waiting on that search warrant to come.
Yes.
So you were there that whole time talking with them.
Yes.
And when you told his wife that he had been arrested, that you thought he had done this, she was extremely upset, correct?
Yes.
She was angry?
Yes.
Not at you, but at him?
Yes.
She was crying?
Yes.
She was extremely afraid of the press and the news?
She was.
She was extremely dramatic?
You're all going to object at this juncture as to the relevance of...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, counsel.
Objection, relevance.
Why is this relevant? Because you're asking him about the reaction of Mr. Newman's wife. So why is it relevant?
Your Honor, can we approach?
Sure, come on up, Morgan. I'm going to sustain that objection. Let's move on.
And you recorded that conversation, correct?
I did.
Your Honor, I have no further questions. I would ask that this witness be kept on call.
Oh, he will. He can do. And he read it right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may. That's the next question if you wish.
Yes, Your Honor. Cross-examination, counsel asked you about pressure and the tactics that you and Sergeant Cordellino were using. I want to ask you something a little bit different. In spite of that pressure, did the defendant ever admit to having an affair with Andrew Sneiderman?
He did not.
In spite of that pressure, well, as a matter of fact, Your Honor, if I could publish a clip, and I want to ask him about that in that line of questioning.
I mean, as far as
From the tape, yes, sir.
exhibit number 87?
87, yes, sir.
That's that evidence. Use it as you deem appropriate.
87.4.
Am I wrong?
I got 2 words.
Am I wrong about you being there?
I don't see how you can place me there. I don't know how you.
No, I'm asking you.
There you are, there. And just let me show you the rest of the video more down the road.
This is the van, okay? And that's your. I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling you that I'm not there. You're telling me you didn't do.
And so in that clip that we just saw, Sergeant Cordellino is, there's not much personal space between the two of them.
Yes.
All right. In spite of the pressure that Sergeant Cordellino was applying to the defendant at that point, did he admit that he was at the scene?
He did not.
Did you ask him several times?
Yes.
Published clip 87.7 and
Let me
87.
do this, Mr. James. Pause there, man. Just didn't go off about an hour. I try to give them a break.
Yes, sir.
I'm not rushing anybody, but I just want to give them a break. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have 10 minutes, and we're going to resume with my deputy. Just give them 10 minutes. I'll get that back. You're about 10 minutes. All rise.
May you see it?